our system,
Yeah.
at the very top of the character arc is this thing that we define overall as maturity.
Okay.
But inside maturity is a sense of empathy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being able to put yourself in another person's shoes and
Yeah.
feel and sit with that. And
Yeah.
it's a game changer for marriage. It's a game changer for leadership.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what part of life. Um, it changes the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if Black men could learn that in particular, that one thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll carry them for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I definitely believe that, man. And so well, I'm excited. I'm just glad. Excuse me. I'm just glad that I got a chance to be able to get you, man. Because I know you've been doing your thing.
It's been crazy. It's been bananas. But it's been good.
Yeah, that's
Um,
good, man.
it really
And
has. It's been good. So I'm honored, man, that you would allow me to share with you and your audience. I'm appreciative. I don't take anything for granted.
oh, me too. And I started this. I had another podcast that dealt with my media stuff. But because of the fact that I've been, I got certified with John Maxwell 4 years ago, and I started, even though I've been following him for 20 years, when the opportunity came up, it was a no brainer for me. I mean, because in network marketing, I was doing it anyway. I was doing more training and I was getting more into the personal development than I was selling product.
Yeah,
And I found out, and I also found out that we are a product. We
yeah,
are the product, right?
absolutely.
And so it's easy to sometimes it's easier to sell a product that somebody needs because, like Jake said, he said when somebody needs something, you don't have to sell nothing to them.
That's
They
right.
need it, they're going to get it.
That's right.
But the toughest sells when you're selling yourself, especially when you talk about transformation
Yeah,
and getting somebody to cross the bridge from here to there and giving them the steps in between.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing because
yeah,
they don't have to listen to you.
yeah, yeah. They would do well to listen to us, but they don't. They don't. And the key is to be able to introduce them into introduce them to their own pain points, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The that they've anesthetized for years.
yeah.
The pain hasn't gone away. They just covered it with
Right.
stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So Fred, look, man, let me just kind of give you a caveat
Yes, sir.
before we get into today's conversation. I am no longer a pastor.
No, I do know that. I
I
do
use
know that.
colorful
I'm aware of that.
words. I
Yep.
cuss. I I do all the
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah,
that I did before I became a pastor,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pastoring kind of created. I don't know. Pastoring did it for me. I can't say Christianity did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Pastoring kind of creates an inauthenticity
Yeah.
for me, where I had to show up and be something for everyone else that
Hold
was
on,
in.
hold on, hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Make sure my daughter's not coming in. You got an emergency? Well, that's an emergency. Hallelujah. That's what I'm talking about. Now you can stop me in the middle of that for that. What I tell you? You got it, mommy. I told you. All right. So now we got a next step, right? So we celebrating. All right. We celebrating. Congratulations. Don't doubt yourself. You hear me? Don't. Hey, Janae, your last name is Fitzgiles, right? All right. So you know what that means. God first, right? And you got it. All right. I'm proud of you, mommy. I'm gonna call you back after my podcast. Okay. All right. Got something to tell you. All right. All right, mama. Great job. That was worth an emergency right there. That
Yeah,
was
yeah, absolutely,
that
man.
was a good emergency, man.
So tell me,
Now,
was that your daughter?
that was my 17-year-old daughter who was about to turn 18. She,
Okay.
she thinks she's about to tell her mom because she live with her mom. She thinks she's about to tell her mom that she's about to be grown. I said, don't do that. I'm going to coach you through that because
Yeah, yeah. I'm a
I got
coach.
5 kids, man. I did this before. They all thought the same thing, Doc. You try, and my wife said, my wife, see, I wish I had a dad like you because you are giving them the game. I got 3 girls, man,
Yeah.
some 2 boys, so thank God. But she goes to Howard. And she was taking that test, for the cosmetology,
Okay.
and so she was for 2 weeks. It's been an adjustment for me, man, because I'm that dad that carried his kids with him everywhere.
Okay.
right? And so as they getting older, and then the phone calls slow down. It's my wife's been
Yeah,
helping me,
yeah, bro.
man.
That's a transition.
It's my and then my youngest daughter, she left me in Hershey Park for 8 hours reading a book while she went off with her friends. I thought I was gonna get on the rise with her, man. She said, "That shit right here, I'll be right back." What them numbers, Doc? I was like,
Right.
wait.
Right.
Nothing. She said back, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." I was wait, what ride we getting on? I'm that field
Right.
trip dad, right?
Right.
My wife's, I'm thinking thank God for my wife. She's just like, "Honey, get over it." I say, I'm so, but so she was nervous about the test, and then so I'm glad that she's able to push through that. I knew she had it, but
Yeah.
I think it's important as dads. We gotta, my thing is I was married and I got divorced and I'm
Yeah.
remarried now,
Okay.
and I had 5 kids with my previous marriage, and
Okay.
even though we grew apart, and as it happened when I was the Fred Fitzgerald, Fred G, Project X, rapping, cussing, that was the attraction. And then when I got saved at New Destiny Fellowship, I'm in Greater Bethel in
Yeah. Greater Bethel.
2001. When I got saved at Greater Bethel, right, 2001, my life started changing. I started getting into the Word. God already had his hand on me because of my aunt's
Absolutely.
prior. And so when I did that, that thing started changing. So I started realizing I can't drag people to my
That's right.
so I realized that, but at the same time I had children.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision, and I took the leap first, and I just knew that I had to change. And then although it was a struggle for me to want to physically leave the house, I never left that life. It was
Yeah. Yeah,
always
man.
like, I purposely, lived 10 minutes away, especially when my
Yeah.
boys were younger, because I know
Yeah.
I can put my hands on them and I can get
Yeah.
to them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that helped. And I try to create a sense of normalcy in this. And it was crazy for 10 years because they were all younger.
Yeah.
So I try to create a sense of normalcy in the midst of the dysfunction so
Yeah.
that they didn't. So I would, I would compromise and sacrifice and, didn't date anybody. And I was there in the morning. I was doing homework. And as soon as her mom get off, I left. So it was like that system was there. So
Yeah.
I did that as well. And then finally, when my kids got older, my my youngest daughter said, "Dad, you need to date somebody. You can date somebody. We're okay.
Okay.
We're okay." So that opened me up to be able to even think about. Because before I was like, "Ain't nobody trying to be with me. I got 5 kids." So I was already
Yeah.
set that belief.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so, but it worked out. And now I'm proud. I'm proud of where my kids are at. So
Yeah.
enough about me. I wanted to open up because you and I got to get into that because we've never had this conversation outside of fixing my computer. So I'm honored to be able to talk with you, man. I really am. But I wanted to, the whole purpose of this show is time to lead. Is focused on leading yourself first.
Okay. Okay. Good.
So that's really what it is. And so I had I working in 5 different industries in corporate America and having different positions. And my first corporate job was McDonald's. So I worked for a $1 billion company. 10 years old. So that's my mindset,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yeah.
But I realized that I saw different types of leadership, and then when I got into John, I started recognizing what leadership really was,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the Pied Piper follow me thing.
Yeah.
And then seeing so many leaders fall because of character.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
That let
Without
me
question.
know that it all starts here. We got
Without
to get it
question.
right here,
Without
because
question.
all money's going to do is just
It's
increase who
going to
we
amplify who and what you already are. Absolutely.
right. So if you jacked up and you can't save money, then you're going to be jacked up at a higher level, right?
Absolutely.
And so I focus on this show to be able to start sharing and teaching on how to go inward first and coaching you to a point where I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm speaking to you and asking enough questions
Yeah.
that the answer that's already in you starts to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Asking pinpointed questions.
Yeah.
Because I had this guy, there's a coach, supposed to call me coaching, right? He gave me what you call it, the juggle balls. He said, "You ever
Okay.
did this?" I said, "No." So I threw. I didn't know I was doing this.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, why do you think you dropping the balls?" I said, probably because I gotta throw one up at one time. He said, well, try that. I said, okay. I threw one up. He said, you catch with this. I said, all right. He said, try again. I dropped again. He said, what do you think you need to do next? What do you think you do next? Next thing you know, after he kept asking me questions, the answer was already in me. Next thing I know, I threw it up, but I caught it and I switched my hand to the other ball while I was throwing the other one up.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell me to do that. He
Mm-hmm.
just kept asking me questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I started juggling, right?
Right.
He said, I got something to tell you. I said, what? He said, I've never juggled balls.
Wow. 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 Wow.
I said, what do you mean? You're my coach. He said, I've never done it. I just asked enough questions for you to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to focus on, that inward thing with this show.
Good, man.
So the topic was leading through a crisis. All right. So I'm
Absolutely.
going to open up. I'm going to ask you for your background a little bit. And just so you know, I know of you, just to give you some background. I know of you through church only because I got saved.
Yes.
I don't know anything else about Donald Morton that I can say I know Donald Morton outside of the time that we connected to get your computer fixed.
Yeah.
I just know it's a good brother that, so then you see stuff on Facebook, all kind of stuff about your life and all that kind of stuff, and all the people who don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand the transition.
Yeah.
The whole. I love your mom and adore your
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, when I was working at New Destiny for 10 years behind the scenes, I saw everybody come through.
Yes.
I'm just doing DVDs and video and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So do all
Yeah.
that. So I knew of the church and that kind of stuff, but I don't judge anybody. I don't judge you.
Yeah.
I love, and because I'm there, I love the fact that, because John did the same thing. John was a preacher. Then he figured
Right.
out more business people were
Right.
getting his stuff.
Right. Right.
And he wasn't growing. He felt stuck. He
Right.
felt contained.
Right.
That's what I see when I heard your story.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Is that kind
And,
of
and
where
I'm
that?
here for it, man. Look, Fred. I think if we can, I want to use your podcast and your platform to fully transition.
Okay, got it.
Right. I'm here to tell the entire story, because the
Okay,
entire story is one of crisis,
good,
right? And
good
so,
stuff.
and how to manage that. So, there's no question off the table.
Yep,
There's
got it,
there's no conversation off the table.
got it.
I want to, and I didn't know that I was going to do this until the Spirit of God just told me. You know, I want to have this conversation once,
Sure,
and I
no
want to
doubt.
point people to this conversation. So if
Ah,
you want to know what happened,
that's right. Listen to
go,
that.
go, go to his time lead with Fred, and you'll.
That's right. That's
I'm not
right.
gonna have a conversation 15
Absolutely. Yeah.
times.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's what a great director does. He just,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
that's good. Okay, great. All right, so I got my little opening, and then there's no music and fanfare. It's pre-recorded, and it's going to be audio, just so you
Okay,
know.
okay,
And I'm loving the whole audio thing because it's easy and people can
yeah,
do it walking, riding a bike, that whole deal. That's why I
absolutely.
love Clubhouse a lot, and I'm going to promote it definitely within the next couple of weeks. I just had
Okay,
a guy from California I interviewed yesterday, so I'm gonna kind of relaunch with these two, and I'm
okay.
gonna do it. I just learned how to do Facebook ads.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I lost a lot of money doing Facebook ads. So I lost $600 doing Facebook ads because I didn't know what I was doing. I,
Okay.
I thought the promote button and the boost button was something, but
What,
that's doing nothing but
they
donating to the
ain't, they
Zuckerberg
ain't
fund.
shit, bro.
Yeah, right.
Nothing at all.
And it makes me mad because they exploit our ignorance
Absolutely,
as a revenue generator.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing. So I said, so how do you fix not knowing something, and so you can learn something? Well, you
Right.
got to go spend more money. So I
Right.
spent $2,000 on a program, somebody that knew what they was doing.
Absolutely, man.
Uh, and now I feel better because now I can help my people to be able to say, I mean, I haven't mastered, but I just learned it. But I learned
Yeah.
enough to get some results now,
Yeah.
way better than you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that donation box. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. 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 Absolutely, bro.
I could donate to the Remanned project if I'm going to keep doing. I could
Yes,
start
sir. Yes,
money over
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Father God, just thank you for this opportunity for my brother here, Donald. I thank you, God. for this connection. I thank you for this interview. I thank you for his humbleness and humility and his greatness that he already has in him. I thank you for a friendship, Lord. And I thank you for divine connection because we know that there's nothing happening without you involved, God. And you say that when two or more are in the presence of God, then you are right there with us. So thank you for this opportunity here. Continue to cover him and his health, cover his family, and also cover the Remanned project and allow it to be able to go to the world, and any involvement that I can do, God, allow me to be just a small piece to be able to make that possible, and allow me to use the gifts that you have bestowed on me to help out my brother as well. And we help each other. And thank you for the opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. One sec. Let me just all right, we are rolling. I made a lot of mistakes where we just start talking and I don't roll. And I never see that person again. There's a red light on my screen, so we are good to go, man. All right, here we go. Welcome to this Time to Lead project. Excuse me, Remanned project. I love it. Welcome to this Time to Lead podcast, where leaders come together to grow and get better. I'm your host, Fred Fitzgiles, and on this podcast, we believe in self leadership. I'm so honored to have my brother on the line. I just got to be able to just kind of blow him up right now. He is the founder and CEO and visionary of the Remanned Project, which is a nonprofit coaching and consulting firm specializing in personal and leadership development for Black men seeking to break the vicious cycle of missed potential so they can transform every area of their lives. Amongst other things, I want to introduce to you my friend Donald.
Absolutely, man.
I got the new branding, right?
You got the new brand, man. Yeah, just Donald, man. I'm so appreciative of that, man. Thank you for bringing me on, being part of your family, your audience, right?
Thank you, man.
And
Yeah.
getting to converse with you and converse with them. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. So for those who don't know who Donald is, man, tell me, give me a little background and so we can introduce you and what's going on with the Remand Project.
Yeah, man. So I am, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little later, right?
Yep, yep.
We're talking about a crisis.
Yes, sir.
But I am a second generation pastor, or was a second generation pastor. Most people know my mother, Bishop Aretha Morton. That's my
All
baby.
right.
83 years young,
Wow.
right?
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
still
Big shout
kicking,
out to
man, still
mm, mm,
pastor, still doing her
mm.
thing.
Beautiful.
Um, and so I'm
I can
grateful.
see the smile on your face when you talk about
Yeah,
mom,
because
man. We're
she's
gonna talk about
an
it.
angel, bro. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
yeah.
to, we'll talk about how even that relationship has gone through crisis, right?
Sure,
And
sure.
things
Yep,
that
yep.
have happened even with that. And I pastored for 25 years and did so successfully and did it well. And I am and have been married three times.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Fred, I will tell you, uh, one of the things that I learned is being married three times, that the X factor in all those marriages was me. So
Right. I
Donald
got it.
Morton
I
was doing,
got it.
right? It couldn't have been them.
That's
Uh,
right, right, right.
Donald Morton was doing that Donald Morton needed to fix,
Shit,
right?
yes.
Um, and now leading, founded and CEO of the Remanned Project, which simply at its core, man, is a character development organization. It's a
Nice.
way to have brothers interrupt patterns,
Mm-hmm.
these cycles that we find ourselves in, being able to highlight them and recognize them and say, let's crush that, let's smash that,
Yes.
so that you can
Yes.
come out on the other side, the kind of man that we really need you to be. And the truth of the matter is, man, uh, amidst and among all of the work that I've done in my 51 years of being alive,
Mm.
I will tell you that this is the most significant work I've ever done,
That's awesome.
because our nation and our world, Fred, is in crisis.
Yes.
And the crisis that exists uh, is around adult Black males.
Mm-hmm.
And to the degree and to the extent we can help adult Black males, we help families. And when we help families, we help society.
Yeah.
And when we help society, the world is changed.
Mm,
So I endeavor to transform an entire culture. I tell the brothers all the time, I ain't even after you, my man. I'm
mm,
after the entire culture,
my goodness.
right? And I'm gonna do it one man at a time. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this conversation, bruh, and
Yeah.
spreading all my business.
Right. So it's interesting because I'm glad you just reminded me that the topic of this episode is leading through a crisis, and typically right now, when we hear crisis, we hear a crisis, and what the first thing that comes to mind is COVID, right? So that's everybody, but I think that leading through a crisis is a little bit more broader than that, because we have little crises every single day, like little
Right,
foxes that come up. And whether it's race relations, whether it's dealing with Black Lives Matter, or dealing with just some people on the job or in the church or the ministry, there's always little crises. And I've always been taught that a crisis rev- either will either well, I actually heard it said that when a crisis will either promote you or expose you,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And so, and also I heard that crisis will actually kind of reveal the leader. So in your when you think of the word crisis, what does that mean to you? And started from you when you were younger, because I know when we were younger, I had some crises when I was younger, born and
Yes.
raised and went to Delaware as well. And there were some situations where I had to be able to move because my mom she had schizophrenia, she had a mental illness. My
Okay.
dad wasn't around. So at 12, 13 years old, I had a lot of little crises. But the only thing that got me through was just knowing I don't have to stay here.
Yeah.
So what are your take on that? Give me some examples of how
Yeah,
you
man.
went through that.
So I was born. Hey, Fred, listen. I was born in a dysfunctional family, man.
Mhm.
Everybody sees my mom now, right? My father was actually in the home for the first, I don't know, 8 years of my life.
Yeah.
Um, but he was physically present and wasn't emotionally present. My
Okay.
dad didn't know how to be a father. He didn't know his father. And so it was very difficult on him to try to really figure all of that out.
Yeah.
And so I took that very personal. My parents um, drank every single day. Yeah,
Hmm.
and Bishop. She
Right.
wasn't
Right.
Bishop then, right? So
Right.
she
Right.
drank
Right.
every single day. My
Right.
father drank every single day. My sister uh, was on drugs
Hmm.
early.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her though. I think my sister has like 25, 30 years clean,
Oh, that's great.
right?
Oh
And so
God,
she
that's
is
awesome.
really my hero. And so,
Mm.
my father died of chronic alcoholism,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
So
Yeah.
just a kind of a story about my parents. So they they separate when I'm 10,
Hmm.
right? I literally witnessed my mother throw my father through a window,
Hmm.
right? And call the cops on my dad. And the cops come to lock my dad up,
Mm.
right? So fighting
Yeah.
on the weekend because both of them were intoxicated, that was my norm.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because it was my norm, I thought everybody lived like that.
Right. Right.
you,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'm
The
saying?
environment. Right. Okay. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it.
the environment.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is don't your family, don't
That's right.
your mom throw your
That's right.
dad through
That's
a
right.
window.
Yeah.
Don't the
Y'all. You
cops
don't.
come.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Right?
What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah,
It's like.
yeah, what's wrong with your family? What's wrong
Sure.
with your
Yeah.
family?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so, it became incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
So it became a part of my mentality to think that that's normal.
Got it.
Um, and so they, my mother leaves my father in the middle of the day,
Wow.
right? She tells this story all the time. I said, Mom, you you got issues, girl. She started laughing. So let me tell you how brilliant the chick is. What she does is she moves us in pieces. My father would go away for the weekend, spend time with his boys, what have you.
Yeah.
and come home. That's how they did it back in the day,
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
school stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what she would do is she would begin to move clothes from the outside of the closet in. And she would always leave a little gap
Mhm.
in the closet so that it would show what looked like a closet full of clothes, but it was only three pieces of clothes. So my dad, my friend,
Whoa. That's methodic.
that's
That is
methodical,
strategic. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's
Absolutely.
methodical,
Yeah.
man. So
Yeah.
he never knew he was being left. So he goes to work.
Wow.
No, he goes away for the weekend like he always does.
Yep.
By the time he comes home, he and his boy, the house is empty. His boy
Mm.
says, "Hey Donald," because I'm a junior.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey Donald, somebody robbed you." He said, "Ain't nobody robbed me, man. My wife is gone. She left me."
Wow.
And so 2 years after that time, Fred, I'm about 12, 13, something like that. They decide they're going to reconcile.
Okay. Got it.
And, my father, who was not emotionally present, he moved when he left to California,
Mm-hmm.
Long Beach, California. So he's not physically present, right? And then when he's on his way back home, a week before he gets back home, the dude dies,
Oh, wow.
right?
Wow.
So now he's not internally present. My dad left me 3 times, man,
Wow.
right?
Gotcha.
And the impact of me not having my father in any of those stages and spaces caused me to show up in the unhealthy ways in which I've shown up for
Yeah.
years in my life. And so
And
that's a part of the reason why.
that 9 to 12, 9 to 15, me having children, I've always talked about that is a critical stage of the blueprint,
Yeah,
of your blueprint, right? So to be able to have that happen, those traumatic things happen during that time. How did you how what was it in your mind that told you that I'm going to get out of this? How did you push yourself through that?
I
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay, got it.
I didn't.
Got it.
I didn't do it. Even if I did, I didn't do it well.
Okay, got it.
Right. So
Got it.
well into my adulthood, Fred, the infidelities and the
Right.
anger
Yeah, yeah,
issues
yeah. Yep.
and all of those kinds of things, the unhealthy manifestations of that time in my life,
Yeah.
um, just kind of showed up in ways that affected and impacted every relationship, not just the marriages that I've had, but also, friendships that I've had.
Sure.
Um, I had this issue around abandonment because my dad left me 3 times. I
Yeah,
mean,
no doubt.
the dude couldn't tell me he loved me. He never hugged me, never
Mm.
kissed me on the forehead, never told me I was great.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Right.
I didn't
Right.
get anything from him, right?
Right. Right.
And yet, even knowing that, I still longed for it.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
longed for it from him. Um, and he could never give it to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he did write a letter. I don't know whether he had a premonition or what, Fred, but he did write a letter to my grandmother.
Hmm.
And he said, "Hey, mom, just please tell." My nickname was Buddy at that time, Fred. If somebody
Right.
would call me Buddy now, I'm gonna smack him. I promise. Right?
I'll make sure I won't call you buddy.
Yeah. So he writes this letter and he says, "Tell Buddy I loved him. I just didn't know how to be a father." It was the first
Mhm.
time that I'd ever heard "I love you" from my father, and he literally said it from the grave.
Wow.
Right. So I didn't manage it well, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And there are a lot of brothers out here who've experienced trauma, Fred, who are just not managing it well. It's
yeah.
not that they're bad dudes, but nobody is seeking to understand that empathy thing you and I were
We're
talking
talking
about
about, yeah,
pre-show.
that's right.
Nobody is seeking to understand the challenges that exist with how brothers are experiencing life.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't do it well.
Um, it is such, I really have, you know, I've always talked about, you know, people say, well, my dad didn't know how to be a father, and histories of where I was, and it seems to always go back to how was raised. Our personality always is developed based on what we latch on to fill the void of what we did not have.
Yeah.
And then we're expected in a relationship
Yes,
to give something that we don't have.
absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a powerful point. The inside the Remand project, Fred, we have a swear jar.
Good
And the
stuff.
swear jar is not for cussing because we all cuss inside the Remand
Yeah.
project. I know the
Exactly.
audience like, didn't you just say you was a preacher? Yeah, was.
that was that was my bio.
That's my bio, right?
Kind of like I used to work at a restaurant, same thing, bio.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, so so inside Remand we have a swear jar, but the swear jar isn't for cussing. The swear jar is for excuses,
Love it.
right?
Yes.
Every brother who makes an excuse, or at least sounds like he's making an excuse, he's got to
Hmm.
give $1 to the jar. And when the
Oh
dollar
yeah.
is given to the jar, we want to donate that to the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Oh nice. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I say that to say this, that yes, the story in large numbers for Black males is the fact that dad wasn't there.
Yep.
There's no legacy,
Right.
right? There's no, you were talking a moment ago, pre-show, we had a lot of good pre-show nuggets, right? Of I heard you talk about what's your last name? Your last
Hmm.
name is Giles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's a legacy that
Yeah.
you created for your children.
Yes. Yes.
And unfortunately, in large numbers in urban spaces and stations, that kind of legacy is not left,
Okay. Got it.
right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between being called a father and fathering. There's a
Yes.
difference in being a parent and parenting, right?
Yes.
Parenting is a verb.
Yeah.
Being a parent is a noun. So everybody's stuck in being a parent
Yeah.
without parenting, right?
Plus, it's an action in
It's an action.
parenting. Yeah. 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 I
It's
got you.
action. It's a
Yeah.
verb,
Yeah.
right?
Not a
So
static thing of I'm a
absolutely,
parent. I got you.
absolutely,
Okay. I got you.
right? So we don't ever ask the question, and then I'll go back. We don't ever ask the question, do you father your children? We ask the question, are you a father? Are you a
Mm,
dad?
mm.
And so we can hide behind, yes, I'm a dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the real question is, are you doing the
Are
dad?
you
No one asked that question. So we get to
right?
hide behind the noun and really never live out the verb.
That's
Um,
a great
we're
question
asking
because
the wrong questions.
you just maybe I just had a thought that come to me that says that is a great because most of the time we're gonna say we're a dad for the position of the title,
Right,
but then we want to leave when it's time to go to work, when it's time to clock in, to do
right,
the fathering.
right,
Like my
right,
son's doing that. He's doing
right.
that. Dad, I love the kid. He keep having them. I'm like, son, if you ain't gonna, now he's a great father. I'm just saying, it's just
Yeah.
like the things that I love. Oh, dad, I don't like changing the kid. Oh, it's disgusting. What do you mean? This you created this. This is what I did this to you. This is a
Yeah,
beautiful part. But
yeah,
everybody is not everybody's built differently.
yeah.
Even though I made you, don't mean you're gonna be the same as me. I'm a
Absolutely.
junior too. I'm a fifth child. My friends before. But so that really made me so so what you're saying is as a result the swear jar. I love that the excuses thing. I
Yes.
love the fact that you were asking the question because it's like I'm asking the question, and some of them may not have the answer. What do you do for those who don't have the answer?
Yeah, yeah. And the fact is, the majority of the brothers don't have the answer,
Okay, got it.
right?
Yeah,
And so we help them work through that.
work
You
through
know,
that.
how do
Got it.
you and we, it's 6 months of intense work,
Mm-hmm.
internal, introspective
Yeah,
work.
right.
Um, because I've got great colleagues and friends, Fred, who would suggest that all a man needs is a job to feel worthy and valuable. But that's not true,
Mm-hmm.
right? His
Mm-hmm.
value can't come from his job, because if it does, what happens when he loses it,
Yeah,
right? so so I think that there's a degree of normalcy that I created around the dysfunction of my family. And I love all of my family.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest, and I had to be honest and face the fact that my upbringing was jacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet I celebrate a mom who did the best she could with what she had at the
Right.
time she had it,
Right. Right.
right?
Absolutely.
She did a phenomenal job at parenting, even when I didn't follow everything that she would
Mm-hmm.
say, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to recognize and be honest about what we really saw and experienced in that 7, 9 to 15 year old
Yeah.
range
Yeah. Yeah.
that no one wants to talk about,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Gotcha. Yeah.
and so for me, I had to kind of go back, and you're absolutely right. I had to discover what my 7 year old self longed for that
Mm-hmm.
was still playing out at 45, 46 years old,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so uh and that's 3 marriages later,
Yeah.
Fred,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's broken heart after broken heart after
Yeah.
broken heart. That's me cheating after cheating after
Yeah.
cheating.
Yeah.
That's me doing a bunch of dumb stuff
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know, I had to own.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
find its origin and then
Mm-hmm.
interrupt the cycle and the
Yeah.
pattern so
Yes.
that I could be something different for this other generation of men. And by the way, this idea that we need to continue to start over with young people, we have no group of men to start to help young people start over,
Oh,
right?
gotcha.
so
Gotcha. Yeah.
so so for
Yeah.
me, I only work with brothers 25 years old and older for
Ah.
that very reason. I want to create a pool of brothers who are whole and healed
Yes.
so that we can start over, we can start empowering, young people. And let me just shout you, bruh, because we have become a society of surrogates,
Mm.
Fred, where there are young men who, and I'm talking to every father who is doing corny stuff, right? I mean, and because I know two young men right now, Fred, who live across the street in their respective cities from their biological fathers,
Okay.
and the young men have mentors.
Wow. Wow.
Fred, so
Wow.
how in the hell
Mm,
do
mm,
you
mm.
have your biological son have a male mentor and you across the street,
Man, that
right?
sound
And
crazy.
our society has
Yeah.
become okay with that.
Right. Right.
And I come to interrupt that pattern,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? To say to biological fathers, if you are not involved, I can give you the tools,
Yeah.
but if you are not involved with your child's life, that's some corny stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. It is. It is. It is. To I can't even like a lot of time my wife tells me that she says you're a different breed. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm different. She says because like just last night my daughter just had a baby. I had to get off the phone with her. Now this is her first child. She's
Yeah.
20, she's 25. And constantly with my son as well. Because I'm so involved
Yes.
that I could block them from their learning.
Yeah.
Right? So she has a brand new baby. I'm not a woman. She's with her mom. She's in good hands. But what happened was the baby had a little mucus, stopped breathing for a little bit. So my daughter just got freaked out. But her mom jumped on. I've had 5 kids with her mom, so she know what to do.
Yeah.
But her mom knew what to do. But the fact that I had to hang up the phone because I was out of my I'm a father, but I was out of my element as
Mhm.
far as that's concerned. I had to let my
Mm.
ex-wife do what she needed to do.
Mhm.
And we have a co-parent relationship. So there's never been a thing where I say, "What you doing?" No. If the kids are with me and if she knows they with me, there's no more talking.
Yeah.
If they were down their mom, there's no more. What do you? There's none of that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've established that. But I had to get the phone with her because I was seeing her the anguish that she was going through, and you know, I got to breastfeed and this, I haven't been sleeping. And we went through the same thing. Right. But she has to go through this. And I can't, like, this is not the time for me to be like, the motivation. Nah, I
Right.
said, honey, this is not a joke.
Right.
This is your child.
Right.
It's a difference when you're responsible to somebody, like
Yes.
going to work. But
Yes.
it's a difference when you're responsible for
For
somebody.
someone.
That's
Yes.
the difference. I said,
Yes.
now you're responsible for somebody.
Yeah,
And
Fred.
so it's interesting is to see her. And I called this morning, I put it down. My wife was like, just let her go. She's gonna be all right. She's with her mom. Called this morning, you okay? Oh yeah, I'm good. I was just, I learned this, I learned that, I know what to do. But if I was on the phone all night trying, it's okay. So sometimes I gotta take my, but it's interesting is because um that 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 to be able to have somebody like you said right there across the street and they have a mentor. It's different. Like I was at AI. I've been mentoring at AI before COVID about 7 years, and it's only a half an hour. And I was going up to AI, and young boys would come in, and it was weird for me because Priscilla artist, she was chasing me while I was working on the movie Found a couple years ago during that movie process. And she was like, I want you to mentor. I was like, I ain't mentor. Let me mentor my own kids first. And then I
Yes.
go,
Yes. Yes.
let me, let
Don't
me, men-
glance past that, man.
yes.
Don't glance past that. That is such an important statement that you just made, Fred.
Okay.
I want your audience to hear it because I asked my barber before God cut my hair. God cut my hair, it ain't never came back, right?
It looks good,
So,
bro. Everybody can't do it. So it's all good. Mine went in 93 when Honest came out. When
yeah,
Honest came out, that was me. I said, okay, I'm gonna stay with it because I had that Bobby Brown thing going on there back
absolutely.
in the day.
So I asked my barber, his name was Al. I say, Al, what do we do about all this that's happening? How do brothers step up? That brother said something so brilliant. He said, hey, Don, if every man would just take care of his own yard, every man take care of his own yard, the problem is fixed. I don't need to take care of your yard. You don't need to take care of my yard. Let me be responsible for my yard. You responsible for yours, and next man responsible for his. Because let me make a bold statement here, Fred. I'm trying to put this whole mentoring thing out of business,
Understood. Got it. Got
right?
it.
The
Got it.
objective for me is to get biological fathers reinvested in the family structure, right?
Oh,
Not that they go back with mom. That ain't my twist.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But at least have a co-parenting relationship for the sake of your young man, your young lady, because they need you. There's a unique contribution that Fred Fitzgiles brings to the table
Right.
that mom can't bring.
Good
It
point.
is what it is. And I
Yeah.
think our society has to embrace the fact
Yeah.
that the contribution that males bring, that dads bring, cannot be brought by anyone else.
Hmm.
And even, I'm sure you've seen this, even those young men and young ladies who have been and are being mentored, they still have a biological dad-sized hole in their soul that can only be filled by him,
That is the truth. That is the
right?
truth. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so my thing is to step to every father
Hmm.
and say, man, where are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you with regard and in proximity to your own child? Don't tell
Wow.
me that you're helping another sister raise her children. I ain't got no problems with that, right? But don't tell me that you're doing that and you're not taking care of your own child. I'll end by saying this, Fred.
You
There's a
can't end.
book.
Just keep going. Cause I'm telling you, you hitting on something right
Yes,
now with
sir.
that, man. Yes, keep going. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. So there's a book. In 1986, there was a documentary that was done called The Vanishing Black Family. And what they did was they highlighted this one dude who was, yo, this cat was populating the whole earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was smashing here, smashing there, had a bunch of children. And when asked, why don't you wear a condom? Why don't you? He said, man, girls don't want to feel that fakeness. And, he said, well, what about your children? He said, well, what I don't do, the government does. So,
That,
right, right.
that was the
So,
mentality.
yes, right. And so they
Wow.
they kind of promoted him as this guy that was quintessential to black male fathers,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
so there was a book written to argue that against that called Doing the Best I Can.
mm.
And I want every father that is listening and even moms to understand by reading that book, because what Catherine Eden writes in that book, White Lady,
Mm-hmm.
is that black men, when they are first becoming fathers, when they first hear that their lady is pregnant, Fred,
Mm.
it's an exciting time,
Yes.
right? It's a
Yes.
fun time. Like, I'm going to have a shorty,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
seed, right?
Right. Right.
we
All that. All that
all
comes. Yeah,
that.
man. Yeah. I
My
mean.
seed, my
Yes.
seed,
Yes.
and so what happens between the time that they're excited to the time that they fall off?
Mm.
Every man, everybody listen to me, every man, don't miss this. Every man wants to win at what he does.
Yes.
I don't know a man that doesn't want to win. So when we feel inept at a thing, right? We we quit,
Yeah.
because in our minds it's better for me not to be involved than for me to be involved and jack all of this up. So what Catherine Eden argues in the book is that they don't know how, this is going back, I'm gonna bring it back,
Yeah.
how to handle crisis,
There it is.
right? So now I got a child, and now I'm not getting along with mom.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I not get along with mom, still be here for my child, right? Now I
Yes.
lost my job. How do I deal with the crisis of losing my job? I got money problems. I can't deal with mom. And now my child looking at me like I ain't, right?
Ish.
So now I'm gonna go back on
Absolutely.
the block,
That's right.
right?
Right.
I'm gonna go back on the
Right.
block, and being on the block, I'm gonna make this money, but I'm gonna go to jail,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So now I'm out of her life, I'm out of my child's life, I'm out of the system, I'm out of society. And
Yeah.
by the way, I found out before I went away to do this 7-year bid, now I got another girl pregnant. So when I come out, I got the same crisis magnified than before I went in,
Mm.
right? So now I
Yeah.
got my child's mom, the first child. I got another child by another young lady. I come out, I still don't have no job. Ain't nobody trying to hire me. I'm gonna go back to the block,
Mm.
and the cycle and the pattern
Wow.
continues, Fred.
Wow.
Right? So the objective that you and I have, the responsibility that you and I have, is to go to a high level and to highlight that BS that a
Mm-hmm.
brother is encountering and say,
Mm-hmm.
man, you got to break this.
Yes. Yes.
Because otherwise it's going to happen all over again. That's not a deadbeat dad. That's a dude that doesn't have the tools to deal with the nuances that come with
Right.
black life as a black man in urban spaces. And nobody has any um no one has set up anything to deal with adult black men. We got
Yes.
youth programs, we got women programs, we got LGBTQI plus
Okay.
programs, we
Yeah.
got all these programs. But when it comes to black men, they throw us away like he ain't never gonna change anyway. So let
Wow.
me just let him stew in his crisis.
Wow. We need now I know why when I first you first said it, I know what the challenge is to challenge those programs. Because typically when I saw, even though I wasn't part of it, it was people that were not like us that
Yes,
were part of these programs to be able to check off a box.
yes, Fred.
Right.
Yes,
I noticed that after a while.
yes,
I'm there for this young person, and I am here for this young black man that needs that his father just died.
yes.
Right. And even though it's only a half hour, Don, it was crazy because I spend my kids, I'm Charlie Brown's teacher sometimes to my kids, man. I think
Yes.
at 12, but then at 25, I hear my daughter or my son talking to somebody else I ain't doing that because my dad used to say.
Right.
And that to me, that's redemption for me. That's like,
Absolutely, man.
I didn't think you was listening when I said
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
But for the programs concerned, you're right. We need to have something that because the tools are there,
Yes.
but they're not there to where they're there in a sense of I feel that you need to take this in order to get this job. You need to take this in order to be able to qualify for this check. You need to take so it's like the motive is not you.
Absolutely, bro.
It's not a you. This is for
Absolutely.
your son. And you're gonna do anything for your kid or your wife. But when is there gonna be a program where we talk about you? What
Absolutely.
I think that's a beautiful idea.
Yo, Fred,
That's a
I
great
could not have said it any better, man. I'm, these guys, we work with ex gangbangers, we work with CEOs,
mm,
we work with white collar cats, we work with formerly incarcerated guys. The one thing we all got in common is we black men, man.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? And this, it doesn't matter what level of success a dude has acquired, he still got that stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
That note that he's been able to mask simply in success,
Yeah.
right? He is CEO, but that dude broken.
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
broken, and it
Yep.
shows up in his relationships, is whether or not he's dealing with his kids,
Yeah.
and so the Remand Project is unapologetically about the interest of Black men. Um, and people ask us all the time, when you gonna start Remand for women? Never.
Yeah, well, I loved, I learned from this from Danielle about staying on
Yes.
focus on one thing. That thing
Yes.
that helped me when I learned that from her because it's like we can be all over the place and we're trying to cater to everybody,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
even McDonald's gets a McRib or two every once in a while, but the main thing
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
come back to, right? That's a season, but the main thing is the main thing and keeping that
Absolutely.
focus is the only way it can grow. It's like back in the day when we were younger, man, we used to have them little caps. Remember caps? We used to play caps with them, and we
Yeah.
would have those little you know they can't sell them things today. Jesus, they got
Right.
their own caps, right? It's some
Right.
things they can't really sell.
Right.
We take a magnifying glass and go outside and we try to make them, put the on the cap and it would pop, and
Yeah.
think. But I think about that level. The reason why that magnifying glass is able to burn through and make that thing heat up is because I never move it.
Right. 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 You catch
Right?
the ray and
Yeah.
you focus it and don't move.
Don't move it. And then
Absolutely.
what happens when it doesn't move? Then it goes. You put, imagine putting popcorn in the microwave, and
Yeah.
every time you put it in there, you keep opening up to see if it's done.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
125, leave it alone.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Is it done? And then and what happens? Like you said, what happens as soon as you open it up, it stops the process and you got to
Right.
start all over again.
Right.
But you
Right.
just stay focused on it. So yeah, it's Remand for black men.
Absolutely.
Period.
Period. Period.
Anything else is a distraction.
Absolutely, Fred. Without question.
I got it. I got it. I love that. Tell me about a crisis that you had in your life that dealt with business or personal that allow you to be able to change in an instant.
Yeah. So two of them. I'll tell you a personal one first. Uh, 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Mm,
And for anybody that knows any type of cancer,
sure.
right? Prostate cancer is usually an older dude's piece,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and here's the brilliance of God, man. I'll never
Mm,
leave God, even if I don't go back to church. I'll never leave God,
yeah,
right?
yeah. He
Because
he knows that, by the way, just so you
oh
know.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur all of my life, right?
Okay.
Whether or not that took the form of pastoring,
Yep.
founding a church, or what have
Yep.
you. I've been an entrepreneur for a good 30 years.
Wow.
And so I didn't have health insurance, right?
Okay.
I would just pay out of pocket.
Yep.
And then Obamacare comes,
Yep.
right? And when Obamacare comes, I still got an article on my wall. When Obamacare comes, I sign up. I'm a part of the marketplace, getting Black people to sign up and
Oh,
make
okay. Got
right.
it. Yep. Yep.
Um, my first trip to the doctor, Fred, right? Now this is where the brothers get squeamish, right?
Okay.
My first trip to the doctor, he did a prostate exam.
Yeah. I know about that extent, but it ain't no joke. Trust me. Let me tell you.
Yo, Fred.
My problem is I'm trying to do this. He said, nah, bro. You ain't sitting back. This ain't a sit
Yeah,
back
this one,
situation.
this one
I said, no, bro. Nobody does that. Nobody. He said, well, you can die later on, or how you want to do it. I got educated on that. So brothers, yeah, just go get it done.
gotta get the exam. It's the most
You know,
uncomfortable thing in the world, but you gotta get the
that's right.
exam,
You gotta
right?
get it done.
And when I got the exam, Fred, to make a long story short, um, that doctor said, I got good news and I got bad news.
Hmm.
First trip to the doctor.
Wow.
I said, what's the uh what's the bad news? You got cancer.
Dude,
What's the
what?
good news? what? Yo, ain't no good news after that, man. And so I'm saying, well, what is the good news? And he said, the good news is we caught it early.
Thank God.
If we would have had this conversation 6 months to a year down the line,
Mm.
we'd be having an entirely different
Oh
conversation,
my God. Wow.
right?
Thank you, Jesus.
So I want you to see the grace of God, Fred. The grace
Mm.
of God is I get health insurance just in time
Just in time.
to catch and arrest this cancer.
Mm, mm, mm.
Otherwise, you and I don't have a podcast. I'm out of here,
Yeah. Wow.
right? And um, so you begin to appreciate life differently.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yeah.
don't have time for foolishness, BS.
Yeah.
You don't have no
Yeah.
time for
You don't.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and even in that, if you're not mature, you'll do immature stuff. So when I found out, I'm like, man, I'm just going, I'm gonna live.
Right. Yeah. 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 That's the
So
first thought. Right. Right.
I'm cheating, I'm doing crazy stuff because on my mind is I don't know what my next day gonna look
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So anything
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do,
Yep.
I'm gonna do that.
That's right.
With my who is now my ex-wife, to heck
Right.
with what
Right.
she think
Right.
about
Right.
it.
Right. Right.
Mom, I
Right.
don't care what she think about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I wilded,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was afraid, Fred. I
Mm.
preached for years. I was afraid to die, bro.
Mm. Wow.
Right. And so the Bible says the fear of death can cause you to be subject to bondage for the rest of your life. Just the fear of death.
Yes.
Right. And so I did crazy stuff. And so that was a period that really had attention to it. It was a period where I was grateful to be alive, grateful to God, really appreciative of my life that He had given me. But it was the beginning of this process where I just said, man, life can change in an instant,
Oh man, that's true.
and so I'm gonna live my life.
Yeah, man.
Um, so that's the personal thing, Fred, that happened to me.
Wow.
Never heard before other than on your podcast, and will never be heard again other than on this podcast. I'm gonna tell you the business one that nobody knows.
Got it.
Um, and it'll be the first time you've heard it too, Fred. You may have heard rumors about it, but I've never really spoken about it until I
Okay.
could heal.
Amen.
Um, I took over church for my mom. Remember, I pastored Tabernacle
Oh yeah.
remember that, for 2 years.
Wow. I used to walk past there going to McDonald's, brother.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that relationship, with me pastoring that church just never went well. And let me just say on the front end, a part of the reason why it didn't go well, Fred, is I was never supposed to pastor it in the first place.
Understand. Yeah.
God never gave me the okay. He never gave my mom the okay. My mom really wanted to retire. She was
Yeah.
tired,
Yeah.
and she wanted to retire. And I had gone back to really deal with the whole cancer thing.
Yep.
And so, she allowed me to rest and chill. And then once I was healed, she's like, "Babe, I want to retire, and I want you to take over
Mm.
for me." For her, it was a kind of like an honor thing, like, "You're my son. Everybody
Yeah.
else, passes down legacy. I want you to be a beneficiary of mine."
Right.
So her heart was pure. Um, and Fred, it was just a horrible 2 years.
Mm.
It was a horrible 2 years because you got to remember, um, that my mom had been pastoring at that time almost 30 years, if not 30 years,
Wow.
right?
30.
30 years. And so,
Man.
and she's a woman,
Yes.
right?
Holding it down.
Holding it down as a
Come
woman.
on. Come
And
on.
and then among all of
Yes.
that, the majority of the leadership in my mom's church was women. Remember her
Got it.
assignment. Her assignment is to shatter the glass ceiling,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
to
Yep.
provide opportunities for sisters and to tell
Yes.
sisters you can do it. Well, here I come as a man
In that environment.
in that environment.
Yeah. That's
And one of
tough.
the first things I do is I start promoting men,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it threw everything in an upheaval,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
First of all, I did it too quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You
Got it.
can't dismantle 30 years
Yeah. Yeah.
in 60 days,
Yeah.
right? But
It's a cruise ship. You just
it's
don't.
it's a cruise ship, man.
I remember leaving Florida. We took this long to be able to just turn around to head out to the Bahamas. It was. Are we still
Right,
turning?
right. It's a
you know,
cruise ship, and
no
and I
doubt.
had
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
patience.
Sure. I got it. I
I
got you.
had no patience at all.
Yeah.
I attempted to do some new things that I thought would just kind of spur growth because
Yeah.
the church at that time was 65 was the median age. You can't
Oh
survive,
wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. Yeah.
needed to promote some young people. I needed to get some men involved,
That makes sense.
and I just did it too quickly, and they rebelled.
Mm-hmm.
They rebelled,
Mm-hmm.
and what nobody knows is they locked me out of that church,
Got it.
right?
Wow.
The single most painful time of my life was being locked out. That's the Baptist way of firing you, right there. They called me into a meeting. They prayed. They read a letter, said you fired,
Mm-hmm.
and if you come back on the premises of the church, we're gonna lock you up. I mean, this is the church that I grew up in,
Up in. Yeah. Wow.
right? And
Yeah.
so um, it was painful, and it was also during the time that I had been unfaithful to my ex-wife, my second wife, and I was wilding, Fred. But
That's a lot. That's a lot. Because on one hand, you're taking over the legacy. You got to introduce a whole new situation. You got to think forward, and at the same time, you're
right,
struggling.
right, and at the same time being able to honor what is,
Right.
it,
Oh
it
man,
was really, really
that's a lot.
difficult to
Yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to do.
Got it.
And I didn't have the maturity to do it. I,
Yep.
I
Yep.
just I just didn't.
Yep.
I had founded my church.
Okay.
So what I said went.
Mm.
It's the Apostle Weeks.
Yeah. 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 Pretty much.
He
Yeah.
founded G back.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
So what
That's
he
right.
says
Right.
is what it is.
That's right.
So I'm used to that mentality.
Yeah.
And they like, nah, nigga,
Right. Right. Pretty much. It's
that ain't
not
the way this
happening.
happens here.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We run this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so it strained my mother and I. It
Sure.
strained our relationship. We
Sure.
didn't we didn't speak for a very and Fred, they fire me a week after I get back from my honeymoon from being married the third time.
Wow.
So now I lost my job.
Mm.
Now it hits and impacts my new marriage.
Right.
Now we fussing at each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Man.
And so when
You
you
talk
talk
about
about,
leading yourself through a crisis.
right, Fred,
My goodness.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so in the middle of all of this, I start Transform Church because starting church is all I knew. I knew how to do that,
Yeah.
right? And so I defaulted to the thing I knew the most. Um, and here's the good news about Transform. Transform Church was 51% men.
That's unheard of most of the
Unheard of,
time.
bro. We didn't have a large church, maybe 100 people,
Right.
but 51% of the guys on the roster and the guys showing up were brothers.
Showing up consistently.
Consistently.
Whoa.
In leadership,
Wow.
right? The guys on the door, the guys in the ushers, the
My
guys on the
goodness.
band, brothers, 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 brothers. I was
Wow.
intentional about creating a space for brothers to be able to worship God and to do it in a way that did not rob them of their masculinity. It was
Got it.
incredibly important to me.
That's awesome.
Um, and I did it also to rebel. Let's just be completely
Oh
transparent,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I
Let it
did it
let
to
it.
rebel against this
I was
idea.
going to ask that. Is that kind of like? Is there a
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah,
a little
yeah, man.
dig
There's a
there?
jab, right? I'm throwing a jab. I'm throwing a jab, Fred, to across the way. I'm throwing a
That's
jab.
right. That's right.
Right?
That's
I
right.
want brothers, you know, um, but I was intentional about men,
Got
and
it.
I was intentional about men. There's a picture of me every New Year's. I would call up brothers to the altar
Got it.
to represent their families, right? I because I knew if I could get them right, their family. I didn't want to. This is a key, Fred. Hear
Okay.
me. I didn't want to pastor women.
Hmm.
I wanted to pastor men who would pastor their families. My job wasn't to pastor wives and children. It was a husband's job to pastor his wife and children. My job was to pour into him so he could pour into them. That's my philosophy. I don't want to run your family, dude. A part of the reason why brothers don't go to church is pastors are attempting to run families. No, I just want to pour into Fred.
Yeah.
Bishop Weeks want to pour into Fred
That's
so
right.
Fred can pour into Fred's family.
That's right. That's
Your
right.
family ain't Weeks's business.
Right. That's right. That's
You
right.
are Weeks's business.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's the model that was
Yeah.
in my own mind.
Yep. Yep.
And my mom and I today have the single greatest relationship. She is the apple of my eye,
That's beautiful.
Fred. But our relationship was tried,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In that moment, um, and you know, I had to recognize my own contribution to that crisis.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember going to God and like, my man, what's this?
Right. Is that how you talk to God? I wonder about
I
that.
yeah. I talk to God like when I talk, like my
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. There's
You
no
know,
oh heavenly Father
no,
there.
I don't do the heavenly Father thing. I'm like, my man, what is
What
this?
is going on? Right.
Right? And he
Right.
said, what? I said, I'm a week home from my honeymoon.
Man.
I'm fired. I ain't got no job. He said, yeah.
Mm.
Like, what do you mean, yeah?
Wow.
He said, I never told you to take that job. Never. So you could have saved yourself a bunch of heartache if you
Mm.
just listen to what I tell you to do.
My God. Wow.
Right. So for me, now I'm clear about out of all of that crisis emerges the Remain Project and a clarity about
Yes.
what God told me. He said, all you got to do is listen to what I tell you to do.
Yep.
Right. And so
Yep.
out of that emerges the Remand Project and clarity about what I'm supposed to do. Um, and you remember back in the day, Fred, there was this commercial, the hair club for men.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that dude said, I'm not just a president, I'm a client.
I'm a client.
Right. So the Remand Project, I'm not just the CEO, bro. I'm
Wow.
the first fruit
Mm.
of what the Remand Project offers.
Amen.
I'm the
That's good.
result of its process.
Wow.
And my commitment is to every day get better and better and to be my most authentic self. And then whoever is in my life, um, you know, will be the beneficiary of a true and authentic Donald.
Awesome.
Um, and that's what I try to help brothers to unveil in themselves
Mm-hmm.
and to become in themselves is how to manage crisis. I'll say this, Fred. Dr. Henry Cloud,
Yeah.
right, says his definition for integrity and character is this. He says it's the capacity to meet, face, and overcome adverse realities,
Mm.
crisis,
Yes, that's it.
right? What makes you necessary to your family is what you have shown even today.
Yes,
How do I help my family navigate crisis?
yes,
Sisters are wired emotionally,
right.
right? So we can expect that when a crisis comes, DMX said they y'all gonna make me lose my
That's
mind,
right.
right up in here. Brothers stabilize,
That's right.
moments,
That's right.
right? We
Right.
bring clarity to moments. We
Right.
let environments know we are thermostats.
That's right.
We're not thermometers, right? We
That's right.
we we create cultures.
That's right.
So the one thing that men bring to the table that should always be celebrated is the fact that we manage crisis.
Yes. Yes.
And our
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
families, we bring a sense of stability and calm to situations that would otherwise be bananas because we understand, you know, that integrity and character is I have the ability to meet this moment.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
so, yeah, man, that's a long way around those two times of crisis.
Yeah.
And nobody has ever heard the story about Tabernacle up until now.
Well,
I
I
love
appreciate
Tabernacle. I love
man.
them. I love
Yes.
them. They still check on me to this day. I'm still grateful to
Yes,
them to
sir.
this day. But them locking me out of church. It was funny because in the Baptist, bro, while they were praying, a deacon was outside changing the locks.
Whoa.
Yo,
Oh, so they
Fred,
got it. They got their own system.
I'm a son of the church, man.
They locking you out.
I'm a
That's
son
it.
of the church, and they locked me out like I was
Wow.
off the street,
Yeah. 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 Wow.
right? And it made me better.
Yeah.
It did. It
And
made me better.
always,
It made me
it's
understand
always the
my identity.
results, man. Oh, it's the transformation, man. And let me just tell you this, because I've been following you, and you and I connected. In I still do my computer stuff every once in a while,
Okay.
but it's like to be able to see you go from a life of challenge, turmoil, be able to navigate yourself through this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then to be able to the growth, and then it's kind of like the ups and the downs, and then you start you're going from being a success to a person of significance now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
you,
Fred.
you see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So but it's hard to do that without those lockout moments,
That's right.
because if the adversity doesn't come, so
That's right.
the adversity is the catalyst for your
That's right.
connection to your destiny. I really believe that.
Absolutely.
So without that, you would have been a different person, and Remanned would have never been born.
It would have never been born. It would have never, ever been born. If I had,
Wow.
and it's possible for us to grow comfortable in a calling that is not ours, right? And so, what God does to get me out of that is create turmoil,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
there are different philosophies about whether or not God is involved.
True.
God locked me out of Tabernacle.
Pretty
He
much.
used
Yeah.
them, right? But he
There it
locked me
is.
out
Right.
absolutely, absolutely. Because his
Right.
to your point is, Donald, I got something else for you to do. And if I allow you to get comfortable in a decision that you made that you shouldn't have made, I give you a scriptural example.
Okay.
The Bible says, "Woo, Fred, this is about to be good. Cash
Come
at
on
me,
now.
man. This is about to be good.
Get my cassette ready. Hold up.
You remember in Genesis, God's when Adam and Eve make a decision that is antithetical to what God says,
Yeah.
he kicks them out the garden,
Yeah. That's true.
right? He makes
Yeah.
them incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not only does he do that, but he places flaming swords at the mouth of the garden so that they never return to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a part of what God does, and all of that's love.
All of it.
All of that's love, Fred. So if you and I are walking by the garden at the time God's kicking them out and placing flaming swords, we like, oh, what's wrong with you? My man, what are you doing? Right?
Yes.
And he says, I'm
Yes.
loving them.
Wow.
So I now know tabernacles locking me out is a sign of God's love for me.
Wow.
Because if he didn't love me, he'd have left me in that. And I would have never birthed the Remanned Project, which is the single most important organization and purpose, not organization, but purpose of our day.
Yeah.
There's no more
Yes.
important purpose of our day than to get Black men back on track. And 25 years ago, 27 years ago now, Minister Louis Farrakhan saw it. And
Mm.
he calls 1 million men to the mall.
I was there.
You were there,
I was there. I
right?
was there.
So even as a Christian, it wasn't about Christian, Muslim, it wasn't about none of
No,
that, right? It was about Black men stepping into.
that's
So,
right.
so what I see the Remand Project as, Fred, is this extension of the work that God began through Minister Louis
Yes.
Farrakhan,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
What happens after the rally though is nothing takes place,
That's the challenge. But it
right?
goes back to those programs that you said that doesn't exist.
Yes,
There's
yes,
nothing to hook it into to
yes,
continue it that
yes,
has the same spirit.
yes,
Because think about this. Most of the time, we get excited. I always say motivation is temporary. You get motivated today and tomorrow you don't know why you're motivated.
yes,
But it's like commitment, though. He was
yes,
asking for atonement and commitment. Commitment is doing what you say you were going to do
yes.
long after the feeling has left you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely,
When
dude.
that feeling of us riding down and they letting us through the tolls, like, go on, man, go ahead. We was riding down. It was no tolls. We was
Yes,
clapping hands, Muslim, whatever, doesn't matter. I wasn't about that. I was about the fact that there was a moment for Black men
yes,
I was
sir,
not
Fred.
going to miss.
Yes, sir, Fred.
In 1995, and I remember, and I called my brother. I said, "Yo, I'm going, man."
Yes, sir.
Took off work,
Yes,
lost
sir.
$800, but gained a
Yes,
connection.
sir. Yes,
Gained
sir.
a connection
Yes, sir.
that was more than money
Yes, sir.
because I
Yes,
got a
sir.
better understanding. I can listen to a Farrakhan right now and listen to the message. I can listen to, somebody that's Christian. I can check out somebody. I can have conversation with people because it was more than just the people that was in my box that was
Yeah, Fred.
telling me because
Yeah,
I'm
Fred.
limited.
Yeah.
I can't grow. I can only grow as far as like buying a shark. You're gonna put a shark in a small thing, or you're gonna put a
Yes.
shark in a big thing.
Yes.
That's what that thing did for me. It
Yes.
allowed me to expand so I wouldn't feel so, I wouldn't feel so intimidated by talking to a Chinese person. I was a president of Toastmasters. I had Indian, Pakistani, white, Chinese, and they were all. I said they're listening to me.
Yeah.
I didn't go to college. I
Yeah.
high school, computer school. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Right? How
Yeah.
am I able to connect with them? That's what that thing did to me. It broadened me up outside of 2904 North Market Street.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Wilmington, Delaware, right?
Yeah.
But it's just it helped me to open up my mind. And you know what they say: once your mind stretches,
It can't go back. It
even
can't go back.
if you wanted to.
Absolutely right.
So Donald has stretched. And
Absolutely.
you can forget the old Donald. That's why it's interesting.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that you have able to even speak, and I can see kind of when you talk about the older stuff. You're working through that. I
Yes.
can see it. You're
Yeah.
working through that, right? And so as you're working, but I can see that you've worked through it to the point where you know how to bring it and touch on it. And you know you can't forget about it, but
Right.
you got because it makes you relevant.
Right. Right.
I believe that, man, and so
Absolutely.
I can see that. So I love seeing that transformation, man. I'm honored. You always been a mentor, a friend of mine,
Thank you,
and I
man.
thank you for coming on the show, man. Real
Of
quick,
course.
if somebody wants to get a part of the Remand project, who is it typically for? What kind of black man is it for?
Yeah. So we are laser focused on adult black men, 25 years old and older, that have or are at least willing to develop growth mindsets.
Mhm.
And we also specialize in entrepreneurs, business owners, because like you, all of these brothers that are drug dealers,
Yeah,
they just businessmen, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
just businessmen with the
yeah.
wrong product.
That's true. They have a different product.
They got
Absolutely.
a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
product. We deal with men in several phases. His personal life, his finances. We've got, his fitness, who he is as an individual, his
Mm,
spiritual life.
nice.
Then we talk to him about who he is as a father, who he
Mm,
is as a husband,
mm,
who he is as a son to an elderly parent.
mm,
Right? What's your responsibility? What does that look like?
yeah,
And then we talk to him about his legacy, right? What are you going to pass down? Not just in morality, but tangible stuff. Like,
sure.
have you developed a business to be able to pass down to your children so that
Absolutely.
that lives on, right?
That's
So
right.
life, leadership, and legacy
Right.
is what the Remand Project is all about.
Absolutely.
And uh, we go through an interview process with guys, because you got to be ready for the intensity of the Remand Project. It is unlike any manhood organization ever, because we in brothers chess.
Yeah.
uh, there have been brothers ready to fight,
Yeah.
but at the end they love me. They
I
like,
can imagine. Yeah. Sure. Sure.
"Doc,
Absolutely.
you talk greasy to
Yeah.
us,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?" But
Right.
at the end of the process they see their lives better.
Man, that is so powerful because sometimes that's the hesitation for people. I know for me, it's like sometimes my family, there's certain people that I could talk to. If I try to talk to them, it's like they're gonna go off. That's not the reason to stay away from them.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the reason to figure out a way to be able to connect with them, go
yeah,
to where they are, you know, to a certain point, right? And then kind of bring them where you are. So,
yeah,
but sometimes you got to be that chisel, and I get
yeah.
it. I can do it easy with my kids and my family, but I'm learning to develop it with other people that I don't know. So
Absolutely,
it's
man.
something that's and I'm glad that you are doing that because that's where it's at. It's that chiseling in a way and then peeling back the layers.
And just a bit by way of testimony, Fred, these guys, we've got guys, man, who, one gentleman in particular, I'm gonna say this without crying. This boy came into the Remand Project with a broken relationship with his daughter, and you know, um, found out that he wasn't on the birth certificate of his daughter,
Oh,
and so it caused him to question,
sure.
like, am I really,
Yeah.
is and so he was like ready to give up, and we was like, oh no,
Hmm.
whether you're on the birth certificate or not,
Right.
doesn't birth certificates don't determine fatherhood,
That's
right? And so, to make a long story short, we put in the work. He put in the work, a whole lot of work, forgiveness work, that internal stuff that he had to do. And now he and his daughter have recently reconnected, man. And
wow.
I mean,
Love it.
see the relationship bloom again. He just sent me a picture and he said, Doc, King's Reign. And
Mm,
just him hugging his daughter smiling, hugging him. That's the work that we do, right?
absolutely. Yes, sir.
Another guy, um, had no relationship with his father, and we gave him, we do what we do, right? We gave him the instructions, put him on this path, work with him,
Yeah.
and it's hard work because you got to own the work you got to do without expecting anything from the person you're trying to reconnect with, right?
Yeah.
and we did that work.
Which is not emotionally normal. They want that
Right,
feedback. Yeah, they want
right.
that
You want
response.
yeah,
Yeah.
if he want a relationship with me, he got to come.
Yeah, no. Right.
Yeah, nah, man.
Wow, that's part of
That-
the training though.
That's part
That's
of the training.
great.
That's part of the
Yeah,
training, right? You gotta
that's hard.
gotta
That's hard.
irritate those norms, those
Yeah,
defaults, those cycles, those patterns.
yeah, yeah,
And we do a lot of healing work in the first 30 days, a lot of healing work where we
yeah.
get them to admit what's really going on, what's really good.
Hmm.
And we Fred, this, your audience, I'll just use what we say. We say, tell the effing truth.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
any man that enters the Remand Project, one of the first things that we get them to commit to, without judgment, ain't no judgment here, ain't none of that inside the Remand Project. The only one thing we want you to do, we need you to do, tell the effing truth.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So that's a mantra for us.
yeah.
Tell the truth.
That's right.
And while the scripture doesn't say tell the effing truth,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
it
the
does
same
say
thing.
if you know the truth,
That's right. That's
that
right.
truth that you know will make you free.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when we get them to admit, I do want a relationship with my dad, I'm just afraid of the
Hmm.
rejection that comes over and over again with
Hmm.
like a child that continues to touch the stove and get burned. I don't want to get burned another day.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
And so um, we've that dude has a relationship with his dad. His dad now saw his child for the first time.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful.
Right. So
Wow.
his dad sees his grandchild for the first time because he ain't seen his son in a long.
Mm,
Those are the
that's
right. So
significance.
when we work with the state, the state pays us to make sure these guys get jobs.
Yep, got it.
Right. But what we've said to the state is, look, you can get them a job, but they won't keep it. If you don't deal with the internal stuff, they're not going to keep the job.
That's right.
Right. And
And you
so,
don't want to deal with that.
right, right,
Right?
right.
So yeah, so let us do what we
Let us
do.
do, let us
That's
do what
right.
we do, and we'll
That's
produce
right.
men that can keep jobs.
That's
And
right.
just let us
Yeah,
do what
yeah.
we do. And the state has been great. They've allowed us to do what we do.
Wow.
They don't bother us.
Right. Right.
Um, but those are two testimonies,
Mm,
Fred, of the
mm.
work of an organization that goes really, really hard at healing and making whole Black men. It is not, it's not too late for them, man. It's not. It's not too late for them, right?
Yeah.
They just need somebody that loves them, cares about them, and has their best interests at heart. And people say to me all the time, "I know it's hard dealing with Black men." No, it ain't. It's not. Once
Yeah.
they know you love them
That's right.
and that
That's
you're
it.
there for them, they
Yep.
good, man.
Yep. Three things they worried about. Do you care for me? Can you help me? And can I trust you?
Absolutely, Fred. Say
That's
those
it.
two again. I love that.
Do you care for
Do
me?
you care for me?
Can you help me?
Can you help me?
And can I trust you?
Can I trust you? Absolutely, Fred.
That's what I feel that that's what they're looking for.
Yes, sir.
That's when the road starts.
Yes, sir.
If none and listen, it doesn't maybe get them out of order. You
Yes,
just
sir.
none of them can be missing.
Yes, sir.
Because if one's missing,
Yes,
forget
sir.
about it. So that's
Yeah.
I am honored to have you on the show, man. I
Man,
appreciate you, Donald Morton, my man. Did you enjoy yourself, man?
I did, bro, immensely. Yeah, that's why I talk so much because
It's good. This
I
is
really
good. You know,
enjoy
this
this
this is all
time.
about listen, I'm gonna send you the file so you can just do what you want, chop it
Okay.
up way you want, yeah, so you can
Okay.
have it. But give me if someone wants to, kind of if they're at a point where they're just kind of lost and their self-esteem is
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and they kind of feel something that's there,
Yeah.
but they're afraid to really kind of step out. What kind of advice
Yeah.
would you give them?
I would just say to them, quite honestly, um, a Black man in particular, man, just find the Remand Project.
There
We,
you go.
there's we have perfected a science in getting brothers to the next dimension of their lives.
Mm,
And that's not bragging, it just is what it is,
that's good.
you know. So I would tell them to contact us. We'll turn that spark into a full blown fire, right? Where their lives, the lives of their family, the lives of their community, their businesses dramatically change. Um, and so I want every brother that's listening to email the Remand Project or email me personally. I'd like to hear your story at Don, DON, at Remanned, REMANNED.org, or even text us. This is a text number only. Text us at 302 208 8999. And we'd love to work with you. The future of our world depends on the health and wholeness of Black men. And so I'll be doing this work, Fred, until the day I die. And
Amen.
thank you for allowing me to share with your audience, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for just being who you are, being a man of not just success, but a man of significance.
Yes,
And
sir.
I know this has got to be fulfilling for you personally, as far as your
It is.
purpose.
It
Yeah,
absolutely is, man. I would do this for free. I'm grateful I don't have to do it
sure.
for
Praise the Lord.
free.
Likes you. I do like eating steak. Every once in a while. but,
Absolutely,
but
man.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
And you're checking out the It's Time to Lead podcast, and with my man Don Morton. I appreciate you, bro, Donald Morton, and I love you. And
love
I,
you
and
more,
I love our friendship as well, and I'm looking forward
man.
to helping out and
Absolutely.
helping out with the Remand project. I'm
Absolutely.
loving that concept because
Yes, sir.
you got to be the change. Like Gandhi said, you got to be the change that you want
Yes,
to
sir.
see. It's almost like everybody on the sideline talk about, I would have did this. I would have dunked the ball. I would have did that. Well, you still in the stands. You got to get in
Right.
the game.
Yeah, yeah,
You
absolutely.
know what I mean? The Remain project is getting in the game and
Yes,
and,
sir.
and, and providing that platform and for young Black men. I'm loving that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody. I appreciate you. And I will update this information in the show notes as well, so you guys can see that. And then you can follow him on Facebook as well at Donald Morton. And also the Remand Project is on Facebook. The Remand Project with two N's. Just you gotta spell things out. I heard these days right now.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, hold on.